Welcome to PredWings Podcast, where Smashville and Hockeytown collide. And now your hosts, Rhett and Ron White and D-Law, Dan Lawless.
Welcome to PredWings Podcast, episode 112. We made it. It's been quite a while, but we're back.
Oh yeah, I had
almost
family and all kinds of fun stuff.
Almost 3 weeks. It just things been starting to. It was just been so busy the last few weeks, and finally starting to settle down, at least for me. But our social media, PredWings Podcast on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. I've been kind of saying the wrong YouTube social media. It's PredWings Podcast on YouTube. And X, we're at PredWings Pod. And you can always listen and follow us on Podbean, and our email is predwingspodcast@gmail.com. And if you want to, Sports with D-Law, we did get an episode in last week, I believe was. That's going to be on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. on YouTube. That's follow at PredWings Podcast. It might be changing soon, but for right now, it's at PredWings Podcast. But we did not have a show last night due to some technical difficulties, so I'm hoping to get that straightened out and get a show fired up within this weekend. But before we go on, I just want to... if you're not familiar with Sports with D-Law, sports fans, it's a must. It's would be Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. It might be changing a little bit in the coming weeks in April due to scheduling. But basically, just get caught up on all the big sports events and news, and D-Law breaks down the big stories, and you can, like I just mentioned, you can follow us on YouTube at PredWings Podcast and on X at Sports with D-Law. So, and there is also a Facebook page, Sports with D-Law. So, got that out of the way. It was a first show I thought went fairly well. It was only a 20-minute show. I'm looking to be like a 30-minute show. Probably all you really want to see of me is a 30 minutes. But so my beer league minute. Unless you got anything quick to add before we roll into that, is what news going on in the Rat and Ron area.
Not a whole lot in my life. Just like I was saying earlier, the bug went through the family. I'm getting over some kind of congestion thing. It's just been a rough couple of weeks. Yeah, you'll see.
All right, so here we go with the Beer League Minute. So going back a couple weeks now, I got two quick games. The couple weeks, it was the last regular season game, and at that point in time, we were in 7th place, and the team that we played them the first week of the season, lost to them big time. I don't remember. I think it was like 7-1 or 7-2. So basically, we needed to win this game if we could to get. I mean, obviously we didn't make the top 4, which are playoffs, but to secure like a 5th or 6th place, and basically all it meant down to is if we finished 5th or 6th, we got an 8:30 start time. If we stayed in the 7th spot, we would have had to play at 10 p.m. So a little bit of a motivation to get that earlier time slot. Uh, but I mean, we ended up winning this game, and we had kind of a short bench. It seems like we had a lot of subs in this game. We ended up winning 9-1. But I played really good. I was tracking the puck very well, and so by that win, that moved us into fifth because of the tiebreaker. I had mentioned, we lost to them earlier. This was our second meeting between these two teams, or between this team, and so obviously the first tiebreaker, because we ended up with the same amount of points, because in wins because we beat them in regulation, and so the first tiebreaker is head to head, so obviously that's tied, and then, or actually the first tiebreaker is points, and then the second tiebreaker I believe is wins, and obviously we had the same amount of wins. And then the third tiebreaker is head to head, and obviously there was head to head was even. And then the next tiebreaker was goals against, and thank God goals against was the next tiebreaker and then the one after that is goals for. I'm just glad that the goals against was before goals for, because goals for I think we were down. I think we trailed down. I think they had like 20 more goals for than we did. But goals against, we beat them by 2 goals against. We had 2 less goals against, and just don't forget, if you remember, our score was 9-1. So it's probably a good thing I had a good game and only gave up 1 goal, and we scored 9 goals, because if we would have only scored like 7 or 6, or if they would have scored more than 1, they would have scored 3 or 4. They would have won. But it really doesn't matter. We ended up winning. We ended up playing that same team in our playoff game. The only difference is because we won the tiebreaker, we finished fifth, so we were the home team, which basically is just a matter of bench. So last week, our playoff game against the same team. That's our third meeting. I gave up 2 early goals. Goals I should have had. They were kind of softies, but after that, I played really well. Two goals in the first period. We were down 2-0, and our team pretty much dominated them. I mean, the play was in their zone almost the whole game. Kind of like I don't want to say the Predators. They don't dominate much. It kind of reminiscent of some other NHL teams that are like that. But in any case, I played really well after giving up those 2 early goals, which is kind of, usually you give up 2 early goals and you fall apart. But I kind of rebounded nicely, and we ended up getting a goal. Eventually got a goal. I think it was the second period, and then we eventually tied it in the third. So, and I like I had mentioned, I had no goals against in the second or third, and then this went into overtime, and it was a 4-on-4 overtime, and it was a breakaway. And he kind of like deked. I thought I got a piece of it, and then he kind of got the puck, and not really a rebound, but they ended up scoring on the breakaway. So we ended up losing the game. But so kind of a bad game, probably a bad way to end the season. But at least, even though it was a 3-2 overtime loss, I played really. I don't think I played as well as I did in the 9-1 game, but that, looking back on it, I think I might have seen more shots in the quote unquote playoff game. So it's kind of, it's kind of hard to judge, which game I played better in. But at least for me, I feel like I played really good in the last game despite the loss. So I'm happy with my performance despite the loss. But so looks like that's our season, and we'll look to the fall season. So might be playing some during the spring and summer, but as far as the league, probably not. So kind of probably longer than I wanted it to be, but there's the beer league minute.
There you have it. So what are you gonna do, D-Law? Are you gonna keep skating or playing defense? God, goalie.
I'm not good at defense. Oh, I'm definitely going to be playing goal.
I feel like that's kind of a position that's always needed.
I'd like to skate out some, but who knows? But yeah, I don't know where to start. I mean, we got so many recaps. I'm just gonna kind of generally sum up how the Predators, because going back, it was going back to the 14th was their last show. So the 14th, actually, they played that night of our last show. Again, it was at Anaheim, going way back. So they were on that little California road trip. They ended up losing that game. That was not an overtime game. But it was just a bunch of losses. I mean, there was a 4-game losing streak. They played St. Louis 3 times. They're a division team. 2 of them were at home. Lost them all. I mean, St. Louis, a really good team. They're really hot right now. But they did end up winning. They beating Toronto in Nashville on a Saturday night. So I don't know if that was on Hockey Night Canada or not. I really didn't see much. I seen a couple of games. They did beat Carolina in Carolina, but then they go back in a losing streak. They lost to Philadelphia, which at this, I don't want to mention anything here. I know it's kind of going back a couple weeks now, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But it just that game they kind of dominated. I mean, it was like I don't want to say dominated. They had a lot of offensive zone time, and they just couldn't score. And then going back to the last game, the other day against Columbus at Columbus. Total. I mean, Saros got pulled in this game. Noonan came in. It was a back to back actually. The Philadelphia Columbus was a back to back. I believe Noonan played in Philadelphia, and then Saros started the Columbus game. But I think he gave up 7 goals. It was 7 goals, and Noonan came in and gave up the 1. But I mean, the Preds kept fighting back, and they get within 1 or 2, and then they give up a couple goals, and it just, I just don't understand. I mean, Columbus is a good team for one, but it's frustrating. There was 11 games, not counting the game tonight, and they got 2 wins in those 11 games. So I don't know. I mean, they're a lot of younger players coming in, so you're getting a lot of younger players. Marchessault's now injured. Yossi is still out, and it's frustrating. And I have a feeling that it's going to be the same way next year because I think Trotz is hinting that there's not going to be much free agency next year as far as signings. So I think they're going to pretty much keep what they have. So you're going to see a lot of younger players. It just, yeah. So I think there's going to be a lot more frustrating,
Yeah,
a
I mean,
lot more frustration than not coming up for the Predators.
I think you got to rip the Band-Aid off. You're gonna have to sell,
Well,
start over
they sort of already did.
a little bit. I mean, they still have some high-priced guys, but yeah, I mean, they've got some work to do. Trotz definitely has to take a different approach because what he tried this year obviously just did not work. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to think about the Preds. I think they've got, you're a few years off from, bouncing back in, doing a good eat crow, but I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I like I just mentioned. I think there's going to be a lot more frustration over the next season uh, or two, and it's just I and there is a stat I just saw, and this is kind of eye opening. It comes down to goal scoring. The Preds only have 2 wins when they hold their opponents to 21 shots or less. I mean, it's you're doing a good job of holding the opponent to keeping their not letting them get a lot of shots, whether it's by defense or blocking or whatnot. But you got to win those games if you hold a team to less than 20 shots a game. That's pretty good. It just but it just shows you that they're not scoring goals, and they got a lot of goal scorers on that team.
Yeah,
And
it doesn't make sense. Like I get, and I kind of talked a little bit about some of these guys getting older and on the downhill, and I think Stamkos is a prime example of that. I mean, he just has not lived up to the expectation, I guess.
it's just frustrating, and I had another thought, and it kind of escaped me, but
Womp womp.
in the last 11 Predators games, they got 9 goals, five on five, 9. That's just even strength, and 10 power play goals, and I don't know, and it's just
That
like,
doesn't sound terrible.
and I mean, I can't really blame the goaltending, but because they're obviously not scoring goals, but
So who do you blame?
Sorrow. It just seems like the last during this little stretch that I mentioned with all these losses, and I don't remember who played the Toronto game. I think it was Saros, and I think a Noonan played at Carolina. I had to go back and look, but it just seems like Saros has been giving up. He gave up 7 to Columbus, and I know you're probably gonna shoot me. Maybe a lot of Preds fans might kind of not like what I'm saying, but we got a Noonan. Is it time to kind of step back from Saros now? I mean, you might not even be able to get. I mean, obviously you're not going to trade him now because there's no trade at there. But like in the off season, I I don't know if we're even. Yeah, Saros did play the Carolina game.
You think that Noonan
I mean,
to take a workload?
well, you probably have to get a decent goaltender that can share it, because I don't know if he's
You have one. Why get a different one?
Well, I'm just saying, is it time to move on from Saros now? I mean, I don't. Can they even still get in? I mean, he's played 54 games. Anunen's played 31. I don't know. Maybe Anunen is ready to. I don't know. Can he play another 20 games and keep that? I mean, his goals against is actually a little bit better than Saros at 2.98. I mean, yeah, he's played almost 20. Yeah, he's played 23 games less. And Saros is 2.99. The save percentages for both are below 900, 90%. I mean, um, and Saros, of those 54 games, he started 54 of them. Of Anunen's 31 games, he's started 26. So there's 5 games right there that Saros did not finish. And I mean, look at the. Yeah, of course, I can't really compare the shots against, because Saros has played 23 more games, but Saros has faced 1,468 shots. Anunin has faced 737. So if Anunin would probably be seeing a lot more shots if he played those 23 more games. If he played the same amount of Saros at that rate, he would probably see more shots. I mean, that's twice as much. So I don't know. I mean, maybe you give a new, and they got a couple goaltenders in the minors that maybe you bring them up to play backup. They could probably play 20 games, maybe. But I don't know. Maybe you give Noonan that chance to play 50, 60 games. So I as long as they lose, I mean, and the teams just play better with the Noonan than Saros for some reason. I don't know if it's because Saros is, I don't want to call him elite, but he's playing. He's one.
He's a good goalie.
He's a top goaltender, and maybe they just play different because they think, oh, Saros is back there, he'll stop us. We'll give up breakaways, so he'll bail us out.
I'm sure they're not thinking that.
I mean, in the back of their mind, I just don't know. It's how you play. I just don't understand how teams can play different with each. I mean, I don't know if Detroit, same thing with Detroit, but it's like they play different when a different goal. I mean, obviously the goaltenders have different styles and stuff, but I don't know. I mean, I hate to see Saros go, but I don't know. I mean, maybe he's injured more than I don't know. I mean, I don't remember if I think he was injured during the season or not, but I don't remember it was too long, but I don't know. Because I don't see the Predators unless, maybe it was just a fluke season and maybe they'll be a lot better next year, but I don't know. I mean, I just, it's a tough answer, and I don't,
Yeah, I don't know.
I wouldn't want to be Trotz because, Saros is beloved in Nashville, and you're going to have a lot of, if you get rid of him, you're going to get, a lot of people are not going to like him. So
they're not going to get rid of him.
So yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
But yeah, I mean the Wings aren't that much better, D-Law.
Well, they had a little hot streak.
Yeah, maybe a couple of like wins here and there, but out of their last 15 games, they've lost 11. They've only won 4 games out of their last 15.
Oh, that does sound like the Predators.
Yeah, that's not good, but they find ways to lose. And I know that, this was the last game that they played, but they didn't have, Detroit controlled that game. Detroit dominated that game. They let up a late period goal, just weak coverage. St. Louis just took all the momentum. There was a questionable play. I think Binnington probably should have got called for a trip. Tarasenko is going into the corner to get the puck in overtime, and Binnington went out to poke check it and then reached out just a little bit further after the puck had gone by and clipped the feet of Tarasenko and sent him flying. No call on it, but
Oh yeah, I saw that. There was a lot of home calls for St. Louis in that game. From watching it from my point of view.
Yeah. No, I just. But the problem is that Detroit needs to stiffen up on defense because they're just too lax. The guys, they allow players to get behind them, and even Sider had a couple of those the last game, and they don't look good. They're just the only way I can put it is they're missing something. I just don't know what it is. I know in Boston we had a little bit of grit. Watson got into a scrap. DeBrincat got into a scrap. It's good to see that type of a game. But my problem with that is these are two dumpster diving teams. I mean, Detroit should be bringing that type of energy against a Washington. They should bring that type of energy against a Vegas. They should bring that type of energy against a Carolina. But they don't. We'll see what they do against Carolina in the upcoming games here. But, yeah, Detroit's missing something, and it feels a lot like defense. And I'm sitting here stating the obvious. But I just don't know when help is going to get here. We've got San Pellica.
Well, they got a defenseman on their broadcast team. They could
Come on. He couldn't hang with an all-star team. But
the Kaiser?
Yeah. But getting back to it, it's frustrating as a fan. Like, you don't want to sit here and just blame Yzerman. I mean, I do feel that he needs to be on the hot seat at some point. I'm not saying we're taking his job. We're going to fire him. We're going to oust him. I'm not saying to do any of that. And I don't even want to, I'm going to eat my words again. I say that every show. But with the Yzer plan, it feels like he's afraid to make a move. And I don't know if he's afraid to spend the money, but I mean, Detroit needs something. It's great that we have these young kids, but as I've said before, Larkin is, in one back injury away from not playing hockey. Patrick Kane, he's one or two more seasons in the league, probably, period. I mean, you're going to see these guys leaving. Who's going to replace them? And there's nobody on that roster that I see stepping up and replacing those guys. We just don't have it. So the plan feels like we're going to have these guys who are second, third line guy, your Marco Kaspers, your Jonathan Berggrens, like those are the guys we're now relying on to become the Patrick Kanes and the Dylan Larkins. And that's just not who they are. So it's kind of worrisome because I just don't know. I just don't know what we're going to do while we have this core that we have now. Because we do have a solid core. We do have good pieces on our roster. But we're just lacking, a bigger time goal scorer. We're lacking a more shutdown defenseman. We just don't have him. Edvinson's playing great. I'm not going to say he's playing bad, but he's young. Sider, he's not playing bad. He's having another good season. But, and I'm going to segue here as we're talking about issues that Detroit has. Their penalty kill is just, it's atrocious to watch. Now you watch it, pretty much anybody, and it could be because they're playing Detroit, and I don't want to say that they're incredible, but watching some of these other teams play against Detroit, like Florida and Carolina, when they're on the penalty kill, they take the space away quickly in the zone. They are so you're forced to make a move. watching the Red Wings, they just give way too much space and time, in their zone, and there's just, they they're always leaving the back door open. I don't understand how or why, but that's always what it is, and it's costing us games. I mean, it's cost us games all season. I mean, we talked about this in previous shows, but it's just a point now where Detroit is just, we're a piece away. We're just one or two pieces away from making a run into the playoffs. And then maybe when some of these other guys can come up from the minors, then yeah, maybe we can make a deeper run if they pan out to be what we anticipate them to be. So yeah, it's been a frustrating season to say the least. I'll be extremely shocked if Detroit makes the playoffs. The last I heard, I believe they have a 2% chance of making the playoffs this year. So it's not looking too good for them.
They're only 4 points behind Montreal, which they do have a huge game against them coming up. But Columbus is losing big tonight to Colorado, so that helps out Detroit a little bit. That's got to be frustrating. I mean, at least Nashville's eliminated, and so there's no hope. But Detroit is like really close, but they're not like
They're always really close.
It's like they made it last year, right? Or
No.
wait, no, that's right. They lost on the last day. It was a Philadelphia Washington thing, but it's like that's got to sting because you're so close. You could feel it. You're within 2 wins, maybe, and
Yeah.
and then
We were one goal away last year.
and then you lose a playoff, and then you end up getting I don't want to say a bad draft spot, but it's like a middle pick, and at least if you make the playoffs and lose on the first round, at least you get something to look forward to. But those are I mean, as far as the draft, I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad pick because there's been really good players that come out of the third and fourth round before. In some cases, maybe in the sixth round.
Yeah, but those are a diamond in the rough.
But,
I mean, to get a Zetterberg or something like that, that's extremely hard to land.
Well, there was Scotty Bowman, I believe, and are there any GMs like him? Trying to think maybe. Well, Eisenman did that with Tampa Bay, but he's got to find that magic that he did in Tampa Bay with Detroit. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't have the
different set of players he came into.
Maybe he doesn't have the money that he had, or maybe they're not. Maybe Detroit's not letting them spend the money. I don't know. Well, I guess I don't know if we'll find out. I mean, maybe they don't really have as much as they think. I don't know. But I kind of was almost touched on it. Unless I don't want to jump ahead unless you're I kind of interrupted your Detroit.
Nope, you go.
This is going back a couple weeks now. I believe the Flyers, they fired Tortorella, and at the time I believe they had 9 or 11 games. I think it was something like that. It wasn't very much. It was like 10 or 11 games left in the season when they fired him, and it's like I believe they were already out of the playoffs contention, and it's like why they're not going anywhere. I mean, there's like 9 or 10 games left. Why not just let them finish out the season and then fire them at the end of the season? They did, I believe they did. Their interim, I don't remember the guy's name now, but I think they did. I think they did hire him. I don't know if he's like a permanent replacement. He might just be an interim until they find somebody, maybe in the offseason. I don't know, but but I'm just baffled by that decision. It really didn't. They had nothing to gain other than getting the new guy in, and I don't even know if he's going to take over. But I mean, it did spark them. They had since the coaching change, they had 13 goals in 2 games, which were both wins, and I'd have to look back at what they did since, but I mean they pretty much beat the Predators. Actually, no, that was a close game. That was like 2-1. But I just don't understand. I could have seen, early in the season or mid season, or even trade deadline. But the Flyers are pretty much out, and with like 9 or 10 games, it just to me, they didn't really have anything to gain by firing them now or in 10 games. I mean, I guess
I don't know.
that's Daniel Barrera.
But there were rumors that he told, I forget what player it was, that pretty much like he better not sign here. If he does, Tortorella's going to bury him. Were I think the exact words.
So that could probably be
probable cause for his fire.
That could probably be. I mean, there had to been off ice issues, and so that had to been it then.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So I guess but that's probably the biggest news. Other than Ovechkin starting to really heat up. He's only 3 goals away from the record now. He's two goals away from tying it, and he's got 2 games to do it. He's played 1485. Gretzky did 1487. So really, he's almost have to have a hat trick his next game to do it in less games. But
don't count him out.
He's got 2 games, but I mean,
don't count him out.
I mean, they got 7 games left, and he only needs 3 games. So whether he does it, and I mean, he looks like he's going to end up doing it in more games than Gretzky did it. But I mean, it's still
impressive.
3 goals, and all the networks are gearing up. They're showing Washington every game, and they got Washington's got a home game against Chicago. I mean, Chicago's been playing decent lately, but they, maybe he'll get 3 goals there. And the last few games, there was a while where Ovechkin was scoring a lot of empty netters, and the last couple of goals he scored were power play goals. In fact, the last game against Carolina, he was the only one that scored in a loss, which was a power play goal. And then he's got they're at New York Islanders. And then they got another one against Carolina at home, and that's way going back to, I believe it was probably January. I was watching a game on the Washington TV, and they predict some of their analysts predicted he was projected to break it on that game on that day. So. I guess maybe their projections were right. And then they get a home and home with Columbus, and then they're at the Islanders again. So they get 2 against the Islanders, 2 against Columbus, and then they finish the season at Pittsburgh. So it'd be nice to see him do it at home, but he's only got 3 more home games: Chicago, Carolina, and Columbus. So we'll see. Maybe the next show we do next week. I'm hoping next week we'll have a new NHL goals record.
Yeah, we'll see. I think it's kind of exciting.
Oh yeah,
I remember the Gretzky. I was a little young for that.
Yeah, I don't remember that either. I don't remember exactly when when he broke that, but yeah, it's exciting. Probably the only time it'll probably happen in our lifetime. Maybe even ever. But there wasn't, as far as suspension. They're just kind of low, keeping the low key on that. But I think it also relates to they're letting a lot of penalties go now late in the season. They're not really calling a lot. They're letting the players decide unless it's really, really, really vicious or whatnot. But there's just been a couple fines. Mikola, since the last time our show, he was been fined. Callahan on the Bruins, he was fined for cross-checking. And Balduke of the Blues, he was fined. I believe that happened against the Predators on. They played
Blankenberg.
Yeah, that happened on March 23rd. So that was like the first or second Blues game. But yeah, so basically just fines.
You got Michael Callahan.
Yeah. Oh, that's the Callahan that was mentioned from the Bruins. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I didn't realize that was his first name. But so that's all the fines. There are obviously no suspensions. Real quick, let's see. The PredWings 10. This might be a surprise for you, for me. I got Vegas jump into the number one. Last time I had them way down at number 8, so they jumped way up. They were playing really hot. They were on a 6-game winning streak. See if they still are. Oh, they just lost one, but they're 7-2-1.
Who?
Vegas, and then I got St. I know it's probably a stretch because they're in a wild card spot, but I got them moving up to number 2.
They are hot.
I
agree with that.
They've won their last 10, and they look.
Who's your first? You said Vegas.
Vegas.
Yeah, I'm going Dallas over Vegas.
But
I will agree with number 2. I like St. Louis right now. They're playing good. Detroit had them on their heels, like I said, and they found a way to victory. I mean, they fought and battled, and they made it happen.
It looked like, Detroit was.
Detroit controlled the game.
Yeah, and they were definitely. They probably should have won that game, but the Blues just kept digging, and I've seen I've seen parts of their game against the Predators, and I can't really compare the Predators because they just not good, but the Blues they just look too good, and I was flipping around. I don't remember who they were playing, but I was watching parts of another game that they were playing. They played. I thought they were playing really well. But I got Dallas at number 3, and so they moved in from last.
3.
3 is what?
Washington for me.
Washington. And number 4, I got Tampa Bay. They are playing real. They're 7-3. They just dropped one, and then so that's at number 4.
I'm going Winnipeg. And
number 5, I got Toronto. Probably should have swapped Toronto and Tampa Bay just because Toronto's leading their division. But Toronto's won the last 3.
I'm going Carolina.
And then at number 6, I got Florida. I got them dropping for number 1 last time.
I'm going Toronto.
And then number 7, I got the Kings. They played really well. They played a really good game against Winnipeg. And I don't think Winnipeg wants to play the Kings in the playoffs because the Kings, they actually swept the seed in series 3. I don't know why they played 3 games. While they're in the
Avs.
they're in the same conference, but they're in different. They're the same division. So, um, but yeah, Avalanche. So yeah, and number 8, I got Washington, and I actually have them moving up a little bit.
I can get on board with the Kings.
And number 8, yeah. Number 9, I got Ottawa moving in. Actually, I got them actually dropping a little bit, but they, they're holding on to that first wild card spot. They had a couple. I think they just beat Montreal or Columbus. So I think they're kind of a scary team in the playoffs. So that's my 9th pick.
I'm going Tampa Bay.
And then rounding out
all the way.
Then rounding top 10, I got Carolina. I know they that's a big drop from I had them at number 2 last time, but they have won their last 3. They're 8-2 their last 10, but they didn't. I mean, they lost to the Predators. So I mean that the game that they should have won.
I go Edmonton. I think Edmonton's going to start heating up here.
And my team of the week, I would like to pick St. Louis, but I got them at number 2. But I gotta go with the Rangers. I mean, they won their last 2. They're 5-4-1. Their last 10. They kind of came up out of nowhere as far as I think they were below Detroit. I think they were like 6th or 7th in the division or the conference, and they're sitting 2 points behind Montreal, and they might make that little push and surprise a lot of teams. I don't know if they'll make the playoffs, but kind of watch them.
Oh yeah, I get it.
Let's see what their actually what was your oh wait,
Detroit's got a game on them.
The team of the week. Unless you don't have to have a team of the week.
Yeah, I don't have a team of the week this week.
Okay, but let's see real quick who the Rangers have left. So they got New Jersey coming up at New Jersey. That's an afternoon game on national TV. And then they got a couple of home games. They got Tampa Bay, so they got a couple of hard games here. But Tampa Bay, that's at home. And they got the Flyers. And then that's a back-to-back with they're at home against the Flyers, and then they're at New York. That's a back-to-back, which basically no travel for them at all. And then they're at Carolina, and then at Florida, and then home against Tampa Bay. So they do have a tough little remaining schedule. They got 2 Tampa Bay, Florida, Carolina, and New Jersey's no slouch. And the Islanders, they're probably done. They got 74 points, but so they're probably playing for jobs for next season. But so we'll just we'll see if the Rangers do make the playoffs, and they're going to have to win down the stretch, and to do it. If they do it with the teams that they got coming up, some top teams, they definitely a matter of they definitely deserved it. But if they do miss out on the playoffs because they lost, it might be just disappointing for them, but it's not all that, nothing lost because they're some good teams. So we'll just see how they fare going down the stretch, and as long as we talking about teams that are making a push for the playoffs. Before we jump into quickly for the AHL, the Eastern Conference, obviously the divisions, pretty much set. Toronto, Washington, Carolina are very clinched. Tampa Bay, Florida, obviously they're going to probably round out the top 3. But as far as the wild card, you got Ottawa and Montreal is sitting right now in wild card 1 and 2, and then you got the Rangers, Columbus, and Detroit. So, just talking about the East right now, do you think that's where it's going to finish? You think Ottawa and Montreal are going to claim those top 2? what about Columbus?
Yeah,
they are.
I don't think so.
Columbus is 3-6-1 their last 10. Um, but they are kind of. Well, they're kind of slipping. I don't think Detroit. I don't know what their magic number as far as being eliminated. I'd have to real quick. I'd have to do some math real quick, but I guess we'll just do we see the Rangers. I think the Rangers probably. I mean, Columbus could. If they go on a little, win a couple win games. I think they got. I think they do have a game against Montreal, but the Rangers are like right there. I think Ottawa probably has the number one wild card locked up, or at least a wild card. I think it might come down to Montreal, the Rangers, or possibly Columbus.
Yeah, I mean, I can get on board with that.
Shifting to the West, you got Winnipeg, Dallas, Colorado. They all clinched a playoff spot. The division's probably not. Dallas is winning big tonight against Predators. No surprise. 5-1. Actually, it's a final now. 5-1 after Predators had a 1-0 lead thanks to Stamkos. I don't know if that's updated yet though. 102 points. Let's see. Updated. Yeah, it's 104 points now. So they're 2 points behind Winnipeg. So that that division, who knows, that they could very well get the division. Colorado probably won't. They're sitting at 98. And then you got Vegas at 98 in their division, Pacific, and the Kings of Edmonton, which technically have not clinched yet. They might as well. And then you got St. Louis and Minnesota. St. Louis is probably going to hold on to that spot. I mean, they could possibly catch Colorado. I mean, they're on a roll, but they're 7 points behind Colorado. So St. Louis is definitely going to get a wild card. Minnesota is only 2 points behind them, but then you got Calgary at 82 and Vancouver at 81, and then Utah. I don't know if Anaheim's officially eliminated. They're not officially eliminated yet. Obviously, Seattle is, but it looks like it's gonna. It looks like the West Conference is pretty much figured out as far as teams, not position wise. Because I don't see Calgary. I mean, Minnesota has played 76, so Calgary's got 2 games in hand, but they're also down 6 points or 7 points. They're down 7 points in Minnesota. So even those 2 games in hand, they're still sitting in a deficit. So I don't see Calgary overtaking Minnesota, and that run by St. Louis is money. I mean, 10-0. That's that's 20. That's 20 points right there. So if it wasn't for that, they could be sitting down with 70 points. So, and going to the playoffs, I would not want to play them. It would probably be. See, if they hold on to the wild card 1, it would probably be Vegas because they got this. Right? Is that how that works? The number 1 seed gets the second wild card, and then the number 2 seed gets the wild card 1.
I think so.
So it could be, well, depending on. I mean, what Dallas could. It could be Winnipeg or Dallas for Minnesota, but I mean, obviously, in the coming weeks, we'll have a better picture. But I believe, as of right now, it would be Vegas and St. Louis, and I would definitely go with St. Louis. I know Vegas is 7-1 their last 10, but St. Louis is the hot team, and right at the right time too, right at the end, coming to the playoffs, But yeah, I just don't see Calgary. So I think the West is pretty much set. The East might be set, but at least it's a little bit tighter. So got a little bit of race. But as far as the AHL, that's
It's all you.
That race, Milwaukee's clinched. Grand Rapids has clinched. The Griffins, they got them in fourth. They were in third, but they're tied with Chicago with 70 points. Milwaukee's got two huge games against Texas. They almost have to win both games in order if they have any hopes of getting the Central Division. Texas has 83 points to Milwaukee 79. So that's and then they got then to finish out the season, and they're both in Texas, and then they got Iowa at Iowa, and then they return home for 3 games, 2 against Chicago and 1 against Rockford. So, in this huge part is the Preds just called up Ozzy Weisblatt, who was in Minnesota, and they got a lot of the young players that were in Milwaukee. So, obviously they might get sent down. The Predators have 6 games after tonight, so their season's going to be over on the 16th, and Milwaukee's got their last regular season game is the 18th, so they could get some reinforcements. Obviously, I mean, Milwaukee's going to be in the playoffs. It would be nice to get to Central Division, but the thing that's weird with the AHL is in the Atlantic Division, which neither one of the Grand Rapids or Milwaukee's in, but they 6 teams are in that division, and then the Central Division along with the North, which the Central Division is where the Grand Rapids, Griffins, and the Admirals are. That's the top 5. So, I mean, obviously Grand Rapids is clinched, so they're in, but it's just kind of weird. And then the Pacific Division, which got 10 teams, but 7 of them made the playoffs. So, I don't know. But anyway, the first round is a best of 3, and then it moves to best of 5, and then the championship is the Calder Cup is best of 7. So you almost I mean, I think they do that because of travel and trying. They don't want a long drawn out playoff like NHL. I think that's why they keep them at 3 and 5. But maybe you put the first round at 5 games because the best of 3. If you have 1 bad game or 2 bad games, you're done. So
can't have a bad game.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I guess it could be the same way in the NHL, but at least you have 7 games to, you got 5, 6 other games to bounce back. But I don't know. But as far as the weekly picks, let's see the Preds side. I did have like 5 correct ones. Actually, the Dallas one is final. I got that one right because I picked a loss on that one, and so did you. So, I mean, I should just pick losses the rest of the season because I don't know. But as far as the Preds side, you still win it, beating me 42-37.
I'm over 50%, son.
And the Wings, yeah. And on the Wings side, let's see.
I'm over 50%, son.
Wow, you're on a streak. You had a 3-game wing streak, and then a 1 loss, and then the 3 games. So you got 6 wins. I got 4 correct. Actually, there was 1 game, the Colorado game. I was right, and you were wrong in that one. And then the Utah, I was wrong, and you were right. I thought they were going to win that game, didn't I? Oh, wait. They did win. Oh, no, I thought they were going to lose that game. Yeah, because Utah's playing really well. Or at least they were. So you're 44-37 on the Wings. So I got the same amount right on the Wings as the Preds. I got 37 right on the Preds, 37 right on the Wings.
Well, at least you're consistent.
Consistently bad. Overall, you got me 86. Actually, yeah, 86-74. So I think there's no you're gonna win this season because there's no way I can beat you.
That's fairly true.
Wow, the Wings have 8 games left, and the Predators only have 6. So let's see. Next week, unless you want to go through the rest of the season, and then we can reiterate because hopefully we'll record again on the 11th probably.
I already put my picks in for the season.
Let's start. Okay, let's start with the wing side.
For the next show, the wing.
Carolina
4-4. I'm going to the loss.
I'm gonna go with loss too.
Oh yeah. Then we've got Florida on the
Florida.
I'm gonna go with a win. They're struggling a little bit lately.
I'm gonna go with a loss for that one. And then they got Montreal at Montreal.
I'm going to the win against Montreal because they're gonna win that game.
I think they're gonna win, and they might be out of the playoffs by then. But I think they want to. They could act as a spoiler, and also. I just think they're going to win that game. And plus, Montreal's got, their pressure might be more on Montreal than Detroit.
And that should get us to the next show, right?
Yeah, actually, the 10th is Florida. That's a week from today.
I'm going to loss on that one.
Florida, yeah, I'm going to go with a loss. And then the 11th is on a Friday. They got back-to-backs. Do you want to do the 11th, too?
Sure. I put a win in that one.
Yeah, Tampa. I'm going to go with a win. And then, no. And then Dallas is actually their last home. I mean, we don't have to do that in this show if you don't want to.
No, let's do.
But that's their that is their last home game of the season. So the Preds they got Montreal coming up at home on the 6th. That's Saturday. No, Sunday. Sorry, Sunday. I got to go with a loss.
I'm going with a win.
And then they got another home game against the Islanders on the 8th, which is a Tuesday. I'm going to the win. Islanders are probably out officially, or will almost out officially.
I'm going to the loss.
And then they got the 10th, a week from today. They're at Utah. That's a loss.
Victory.
So I don't know. It's the old Arizona team, basically the same team as Arizona. They got a little, history. I know Utah is a brand new team, but Predators in Utah, Arizona, I still call them Arizona. Sorry, I know the AHL, but they're basically the same players. And well, they just always play them tough. Predators do so. And then that should get us to next week. The next game is the 12th of Saturday. So. We can do those next show. So briefly after that Utah, then they got to go to Vegas and then Utah, and then their Dallas is their last home game, which I don't want to. Maybe they'll. Who knows? But that's it for the Preds. I'll do the last 3 next show probably. Let's see. Yeah, next show. Yeah, next show I'll do the rest of the season, I guess. But that's all I have for tonight.
Yeah,
I know it's kind of a long show, even though our recaps were kind of short. I mean, I didn't go through all of them. But, just a reminder, if you want to hop on to YouTube on Wednesday nights, possibly be a day change coming up, but stay on social media for information about that. 7 p.m. YouTube, PredWings Podcast on YouTube. Follow them, follow that, and you'll be able to watch the Sports with D-Law show. And also, if you follow Sports with D-Law on X and Facebook, is actually the same, at Sports with D-Law. Or X is at Sports with D-Law, no spaces. And Facebook is also Sports with D-Law. So look us up on Facebook and X for that. And it's not just hockey; it's every sports basically cover. But as far as PredWings Podcast, our social media, PredWings Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and X, we're at PredWings Pod, and you can always follow us and listen live on Podbean. And our email is predwingspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in to the PredWings Podcast.
Good night, Hockey Town.
See ya, Smashville.